Welcome back to Question Period. We've been talking today about the upending of Canadian politics thanks to Donald Trump. Here's yet another example. The latest data from Nanos research shows the Tories are up 16 points over the Liberals, which is a narrower margin than they've enjoyed in the last several months. So, is Trump and how to handle him the next ballot box question? The Scrum is here to answer that question. Joël Denis Bellemance is the Ottawa bureau chief for La Presse. Stephanie Levitz next to him is a senior reporter for the Globe and Mail, and Nick Nanos next to her is rounding us out today. He's the chief data scientist and founder of Nanos Research. Hi everybody, good to see you.
Hello.
I've got to start, Nick, on those numbers.
Wow.
Talk about the movement for us if you could, and how significant in your view it is.
Well, actually what we've seen is that the Conservatives have gone from a 27-point advantage to like a 17-point advantage to a 14-point advantage. So the trend is now favoring the Liberals. Interesting thing, Vashi, is the Liberals have been picking up support among women voters, a key element of the Liberal coalition if they want to be competitive. The big question is will this trend continue, or will the Conservatives be able to fight back? And you know, they still have a big advantage and are in majority territory.
And let me just ask you a little bit more about that. What in your view is driving the shift? Is it Trump?
Well, actually, I think what's driving the ship first is Justin Trudeau stepping down. Right? So it's kind of like, whoosh, don't have to worry about that person anymore. And also the other thing that's driving the shift is the focus on Trump and the focus on the Liberal leadership, right? People see the Liberal leadership, they wonder who might be the next leader of the Liberal Party, and it probably opens them up a little bit. But you know, let's face it, Vashi, when the Conservatives are at 47%, a lot of those people are Liberals, and were Liberals at one point. Some of them are starting to drift back.
It's so interesting to see, Steph, because for so long now we've been covering just how wide this lead is for the Conservatives. Would you have thought that Justin Trudeau leaving could have prompted something like we're seeing right now? And obviously we don't know if it's a permanent, but even just the movement was not there forever.
Well, I mean, just to pick up on Nick's point, right? The Conservatives were at a historically high for them. They were well above their base, and they were well above even, you know, support that they were seeing on a polling level in previous elections. That's hard to hold on to no matter the situation, right? And especially because for a run of time there, are people even thinking about a federal election? I know Nick is phoning around or asking people to click a button if an election were held today.
Yep.
But how much are they really thinking about it? Now we're moving into a scenario where that election threat is becoming more and more real. People are waking up. They're surveying a landscape. From the Conservatives' point of view, I mean, they'd put so many eggs in the basket with attacking Justin Trudeau and holding him up at the centerpiece. They always knew there was a risk the guy was going to go. And they knew that with that risk would come probably some resurgence with the Liberal Party in the polls. Their belief in the Conservative Party, or so Conservatives say to me, this remains a change election. You can change whoever's at the top of the Liberal Party, but for Canadians it is still a change election, maybe just less of a change than we might have anticipated 6 months ago.
What's your gut tell you about that, JD?
Well, there's also a reset of the Liberal Party policies. When you listen to Mark Carney, he's talking about balancing the budget, cutting taxes, investing more in the military. That's center-right policy. So the Liberals are going back to where they used to be very successful under Jean Chrétien, which is you take care of the left, but don't forget about the right of the party. And that's, you know, both wings have to fly at the same time if you don't want to crash. And that's what's happening with Mr. Mark Carney. And you hear the same thing from Christopher Freeland as well. You know, it's more center-right party now. It's shifting in the middle. And you could see that what Mr. Trump is doing to Canada is, I think, rallying Canadians around a party that wants to defend the Canadian interests. And that's why I think the next federal election, this will be the ballot question. And Mr. Carney was very wise this week to use a rallying cry for nationalists in Quebec, Maître chez nous. He used that several times in Windsor when he made an announcement. And that's, you know, a full of meaning expression that was used by the former Premier of Quebec, Jean Lesage, when he wanted to fight Ottawa's intervention in areas of provincial jurisdiction. So I think we've seen that I think the party that will be most successful next time around will be the more nationalist party defending Canadian interests.
I guess the question I have for you, Nick, is you also did some polling on how Canadians view who is best suited to handle Trump. How much do you think that does end up being the ballot box question, and how much does that depend on timing?
Well, I think it probably will be the ballot box question in the next federal election, because the thing is that for Canadians, they know that our relationship with the U.S. is critical, that, you know, whether it works or doesn't work, it affects taxes, it affects inflation, it affects trade, jobs, all that kind of stuff. And I think, who knows, maybe people in the next election are not going to vote for a party that they like. might not vote for a leader that they trust or whatever, but they just might vote for whoever they think might be best able to manage that situation. And you know, back to JD's comment about change, you know, having a change election, I think what the Conservatives have to watch out is that when they look, that Pierre Poilievre doesn't look like risky change, because now if the ballot question is about Donald Trump, that maybe they look at all the different federal party leaders differently. You
put it so well this week, Steph, when you said, like, you know, it might not necessarily be change in the way we anticipated, but who do you trust to navigate whatever Trump does, but also navigate that change?
It's a funny dynamic for the Liberals right now, because the leadership candidates are trying to distance themselves from the legacy of Justin Trudeau and the Liberal Party, as JD, you know, delineated there. Well, right now it's Mr. Trudeau captaining the ship with Mr. Trump, and whatever deal they might work out, if we can keep these tariffs at bay for a little bit longer, what is that? Or the Liberal candidates then have to answer for that. They're going to have to hold the bag for that. The next Liberal leader will be elected on March the 9th, may choose to take Canadians to the polls right away. So how much do they sort of both bear responsibility for whatever happens with those tariffs in the end? If those tariffs get implemented, the point being, is Justin Trudeau held accountable for that? Is the next Liberal leader held accountable for that? Or is nobody held accountable for that? And then the ballot box question is the cast forward. It's everyone throwing up their hands and saying, I don't know how we're going to solve this Trump thing. So who do I trust at minimum to do the things they're promising me that they're going to do for Canada, because we can't control for the wild card that is Mr. Trump.
Well, and it's on that note, JD, I'll give you the last word, but I was saying in the last segment, I hear from people in and around the Carney campaign that they would go early, right? Very soon thereafter.
That's my understanding. I cannot picture Mark Carney being elected leader and prime minister, watching the speech on the throne being read while he's in the tourist section in the House of Commons or in the Senate. So that would not be a very convincing image in my sense. So that's why I so feel that he will go fast. I think probably try to take advantage of sort of the warming up of Canadians to the Liberal Party. Maybe if you can use that as a launching pad, we'll have a fun campaign.
Oh boy, sooner than expected maybe. Thank you so much, JD Belvance, Stephanie Levitz, and Nick Nanos, our Sunday Scrum.